Hello, Facebook. Hi, YouTube. People out there in active duty doing their thing. I actually had plans to do some deep cleaning in the house today and can't stop wanting to discuss the topic of discussion. Um, I call it talking horses. Talking horses. And what this is about is politics. It's about humanity, of Earth. It's about the time of Earth, as in a stage of being, a place where the theater performs. Okay. Um, and, I am fair and honest to say that it is about me. From Obama forward, there were these strange things occurring in my life. I know you know. Quite simple. But it's important that I facilitate my truth and identity, not to the show written, not to the theatrics at play of other people, but of myself. I think the last 15 years I've given to the audience, yeah. Um, so I'm not here to live in that place. I am not trying to discover what that's about. The relevance of that story is not me, but I have found how to better be myself in that story, because that story is America. That story has progressed in the world. By Earth, that story is global. By politics, is global. Communities, it has its trends here and there. So when I see those realities occurring on a zero line basis, at the point of, what I see is my existence. I see everything that I've been going through. I see all the energies that I work with. I see my actions and movement, in my ego, in what I do in my personal space and time. Um, that's pretty strong information. But it is something that I am drawn to desire, because I am having all of these experiences without participating in that outside reality. And you find the authenticity. What is authentic to the truth? Where is the position in the place? It's it's a lot. It's a lot. And in humans, in the social life, it's been my conclusion it's not relevant to me. I am me, and that is their impression. That's their facade. That's their look. That's their title to the artwork. So if their day is consumed with the character identity of myself, uh, what is going on in my life in some weird form that I haven't bridged, of course. But since I'm on my side, experience things, simultaneous events experiencing similar to exact of what it is in my life, it's fair to ask the question, how are they presenting themselves to me? Is it in their view of me? Is it a view of me? Are they just in their body and being? And of course, without acknowledging my role that does exist, of having passed on, my role that does exist, or having had outer body experiences, my role that does exist as a citizen surveilled without rights. And this has been well written, and just the legal work that I've done in the past 5 years is just insane. And it shows a direct correlation of all parties involved with the consistent value system of to deny the entire experience in whatever application I bring to the table, deny the identity of being, and every form from spiritual to physical, right? So it's a loop that you don't get out of. There's no escaping that. And 20 years ago, when I saw these things starting to happen, 25 years ago, it was more on the basis of, you can't do that. I got my sword, come at me with yours. And it wasn't a reclamation of my first 15 years of existence and then my lead into what happened in the last 15 years of my existence, but it is a way to temper all that happened in the first 15 and set boundaries so that it doesn't establish itself again. The reason reclamation was never an issue or a concern to me as a being is I generate. That's my thing. I generate. So whenever I get quarrel with something that's not working with the generation system, it's not important for me to go back there and recoup, because that's taking away from my ability to generate, and that's loss. That represents loss, because my being, it's lifted, its existence, its vibration is generation. So it's not the data and the information that unifies my existence, right? And I know that. So there's no reclamation necessary to me. It's not belonging in the totality of experience. So if it's not at a personal level, then it's not relevant, period. But today we're at a stage where that has changed. This is no longer me and my little world going through these intense realities and crazy experiences and seeing what I believe would be happening, and even though it was quite well written to be like, no, this is not adhered to. We don't acknowledge this. This does not exist. Whatever you've chosen is your right, but guess what? That's not a part of us. So we're shutting you down. And I think that was a whole. It was indeed a whole network of existence. But I do not believe that it was humanity at a core that generated that. I don't believe that they did that. As a core, they like to feel the way I like to feel. I went to high school. I lived that crazy life at the first 15 years and walked out of that, went to high school, and became a popular personality. Not a truth, but a positive result in the experience in my own strange way. So I did that by understanding people, and doing what would facilitate to their happiness, being that person that didn't compete to them, but and raised them, brought more light to who they were, made them shine in their star. So I understand how people feel, and I think that's a fair statement there. What I choose and will in my life is, in some fraction, if not a lot, if not the general majority, it's definitely a huge fraction of all people. Appreciate where I'm coming from. And the things that I've done in my life are separate of that. Of course, there's cause and effect. There is, if you put a person in this experience, their response is this way. And that's part of today's conversation, not just in my personal life, but as a whole in the universe. And in a more narrower conversation would be what the politics of my life has become in society. So that's the talk of horses, huh? The talk of horses. Here we are. What the reason horses is Democrats and elephants, but neither one are there, so I choose a horse. And it is to really break down what is the Democrat, what is the Republican. How did we fuse ourselves to those false roles and identities? What happened that someone else's experience became more important to us than going out in the woods and shooting a deer with a four-wheeler? Like, that had more fulfillment in our existence. The other existed. Politics were there. TV was there. Reality TV was there. All these things are in play. And we're well accustomed to it. We're generations deep now to, minimally in this active reality. Um, but we never entertained the principle where it occupied our being and our life, made us decide um, who we were and how we were going to relate with even family members or even spousal relationships, even children. So why is that, right? What happened there? Well, I think when I made my experience in 2012, I was feeling the Earth's experience of life, and it was a whole paradigm shift of the Earth where the magnetic field draw of existence was pulling towards the center point, to this boom. So, in order to be a citizen, you had to be involved. Well, if you weren't a soldier, if you didn't go to the military, then you got political and you drew into party. You became that and you took your job in with it and you took your personality in with it. So now you got this division of corporate and social existence that just has charged its identity to these principles of political, what liberty, our liberties to be political and that we structure it, but we're unified and we have a professional strategy and we are organizing this with limb and life. So it's no longer just liberty, it's a professional act. And that division is drawing the value of our frame because we are a free government. We are a republic, constitutional. So when we do these unified causes, it becomes our truth. This is what we're going to do. But none of that is reaching the roots of the human experience. So as you are going charged and identifying yourself with a party, that's fine. Your roots are established to do that. That's the constitutional clause. But when you're representing for these parties, Democratic, these parties, Republican, your root is not coherent to theirs. And, I will explain why that is. For the Democrats, we have a stage master where they have come in and decided the rules of society. And they have placed classes. It's kind of a class system that you would see in India, but that's the democratic stage, and it's backed by a lot of whore money. It's just dirt. It's money that's just doesn't have any moral principle behind it. Just here to do the thing because we're all doing the thing, and you know, money. Why money? Well, we have no other article. God is not our thing. Mythology is not our thing. And so this is our thing. And we're generating the new world off this. And we're doing good for the people. And we have a great green agenda. But all this is evolved to capture the moment, the expression of existence, to take your root in being and place it into their mechanism and frame. And they present it to us. And we're a marketing society. It's not, I couldn't say that it's illegal in politics, but it's not designed to be there. It's just not, I don't see that anywhere in the Constitution where it stages that the division of politic is a set um, term that determines the value system of the Constitution and who holds it. It's not there. And in direct opposite of that, it speaks of breaking the bonds, the political bonds that prevent you in a long train event of under Article 4, long train event of human abuse and a stage that's set, a government that's acting in a manner that is not to change. It's not a temporary emergency that had to occur. It's not martial law because we're having this experience, even though there is a martial law at a global level. But if you're a citizen, you have to stand for these constitutional principles to put a check to that experience. But long train event is separate that. It's not a martial experience. That's a separate event. And that's what we've been at. So when they designed it, as they stated, the Democrats designed this class system to place you in. Now, when that went to stage, that was something that the Republicans are going to challenge in their rights of doing that. But what happened in stage is the awareness to what was going on and how that was playing was not rooted to the psychic, to the musician, to the actors, to the entrepreneur that was just a downright businessman and didn't buy into the role of any big noise in politics in general, and the naturist, and all these personalities that work separate that political mechanism. They weren't grasping that truth. They weren't seeing the value. They were not able to bring that to a place that was like, yeah, I trust that. That makes sense to me. Because it wasn't coherent to life. And it's not. It never will be. It's politics. And anything that wants to dress that way is even more conspicuous as to why is it doing that. It's not even a part of us, and it wants to portray itself as though, well, they're in service to us. When we become in service to that principle, they take reign. And that's not constitutional. It's not we the people. So that got caught, and now both parties are fighting over a dead duck. And they both probably shot the living tar out of it, and nobody wants it. That's not edible, full of buckshot. But it became the reality. So what happened there is the Republicans formed up really quick, and because they're smart, they're wise. It's an old group, an old gang, and they go off not off psychology of what the day is today, but they go off what works. What's the cycle we've seen before? What's the reality behind the TV? What's the bullshit gone? When that gun comes out, why did it come out? Who had the draw, and why were they there with it? Screw all the noise. And at that stage, they know that this coup of pulling this noose over the people is not going to root itself. And not that it wasn't working. I'm not saying that. But they know because they have that big story in their hands, and they're like, in that manual, and they're looking at the picture and they're saying, we don't have the root. We don't have the root. This is going to flop on the evolution of its experience because it is not in the root of the being. So they took it from that approach and that angle. So that's where you saw Trump turn the cards into this situation of blowing up the Democrats with all this dirt and noise. Knowing it's going to come back on him, and he's in it, but having contaminated the whole system in the process so that there's no value in the system. And he'll come back and lead and continue on with the mess. Because that was his whole strategy. That's the Republicans. Again, we're looking for root. So the Republicans jumped right back on top of that shit that they created. And here's this dead duck in the water. Nobody fucking wants that shit anywhere. And they jump on top of it like, look at that fucking dead duck in the water. Who the fuck wants that shit? Get it out of here. So they want to be root. All this is about being root. And The Republicans are even wise that they played quiet in the first round, this first episode, letting it all explode and then pulling those key cards to generate the root system that will devalue that base. So all that work you Dems have done, we just pulled that on you with a few cards of bringing a little bit of truth out. We turned the whole wagon, and they weaponize. They weaponize. So that's not good. And we could even argue that they only fought the Democrats to pull those cards so that they could be in that place of the game because they already had all the steps aligned. This is wisdom. And I've just gone through it in this 40 years and I figured it out. This is my truth. So, having stated that, even without it being their story, this is my truth. This is the resolve of all things. This is how it works. This is what we see when we look into the facts, the evidence of our historical records. And it doesn't change. It only changes the way that you perceive it so that it can get an advantage, because that's the whole concept. We're at that peak where, again, where we're coming to this focal point, what brought everybody into this picture. And that experience, it does break away. That's the tomorrow if the earth is to survive. If we don't go into World War III, if we get through this destruction that we're in, which I believe we can do that. The politics of war is something that these political minds are not respondent to their soul anymore. So I can't depend on the wealth of the emotional being as a collective conscience, a collective soul coming together on that. But for the earth, in regards to this traumatic experience that the earth is going through, I believe that the layers have been peeled enough so that earth itself has regenerated a new skin to bring in with the new world. The seeds have already sprouted, so to speak. So that root, that anchor, the earth can entertain. And absolutely we can do this, but you've got to hold the sail. You've got to bring us through. So politics at this stage here again, first it was a political, now it's at a war stage, right? Now they bring us that, okay? But they need to root something in these experiences in order to get to the new world, because the earth is going there. And that new world is genuine to the human being, because that's the generative process of the earth. That's how she gets from point A to point B. So she got to point B. Anything point B is part of the earth. So politics are not fused in with that, period. And if they don't have that root, they can't design the mechanism to carry themselves across. Republicans know this. Democrats, not so much. Democrats believe that money is the reality of existence. That regardless of how the emotional well-being and the natural existence of life, how that portrays itself, and the instinctual habitual being, how they create their habits, what is the instinct that draws them to design this life, and what is their meaning. These are irrelevant in a democratic version. They're going to have a place for it. They'll have a psychologist for the person that struggles with that mental comparison of existence. They'll have a label for mental illness for you, to be like, you can't draw yourself to this line of experience, so we're labeling you this. Well, he was just an artist yesterday. Oh my God, it was Reeves, for God's sakes. He freaking invented the world, dude. Einstein was not what? A bipolar? Tesla? So, sure, people have emotional value systems that change and that are different, but that's not their label. That's not their identity. Here again is that reverse role, right? That perversion. The role of Reeves to society was not, we have a schizophrenic in our hands that can't participate with society, and here's your little bin of the world to live in. It was, this is a man of genius, and this is what he was created. Tesla, same story. Einstein, same story. The guy that invented Wendy's, same story. These are just general mill people that, they create their identity and are taken into society for their value. But the Democrats want, that's their new world order, is to classify all these things and organize everything to their knowledge and their system and how they do business. And anything separate that, you have different bins for it. So now a personality that can't fit in because they're having a creative experience that is not being accepted into the play is challenged by two things. One, this political division, and two, the draw of earth. What is time doing? Because time draws the conscious of all things together. The apes started making tools together. The pyramids were created across the world in a uniform timeline together. So it's a conscious collective. It always has been. You look at Mayan hieroglyphs, look at Egyptian hieroglyphs, and I can read the same story in a core four experience, right? Four corners of the earth. The experience of the fourth dimension, just what the principle of life is about, that cross of existence. So for the Democrats, they're not in belief that they need a root. That's just what it comes down to. And the Republicans know they do. So these are the processes that have occurred, and the Republicans are the knife. They are certainly the militia. But what they have to root is the human principle, because that's their mechanism in politics. They want to reclaim the Constitution for an old purpose. At least want to challenge the New World to discover the Constitution and take it from their hands. They will not bring the New World in, and they will not open the door. They will not hand them the Constitution. They will not show them the principle. They will not let them take reign. They ultimately will challenge that to the timing of Earth, which is bullshit. It's complete bullshit, because the psychology of humanity has brought us to understand that term of value. And that is where the psychology of humanity is supposed to take the next step then and bring that to the people. So it's always a dark truth. And so in that sense, we know that they're not for the New World. They're not. They're for the old world, the dark reality. They want that. They want the keys. That system. That's what they're for. That's all they're for. So the Republicans have to change. The Democrats don't have to face the truth. They don't have to acknowledge it. They can go on with their existence and participate in a free country, in a free world, and just lose the continuity of the experience because it stops, because the people just take over and say, no, we're not doing this no more. And then the Republicans finally adhere to that reality, and they bring that in so that they can stay on the ship, and they're going to try to keep the leader of that ship, period. But knowingly, if that's not the case, the wisdom of the Republican knows that to come through, they have to acknowledge who holds that reign. So that's the good of a Republican. That's the great value system that I've always held. And frankly, I've been very distraught that Trump did not address me in his first stage and bring me in and bring me up. And here again is pointing the case, their old world. We have leading hands like China. If people can get past their ego in this whole corporate agenda where I got to take care of capitalists got me, and I've got to buy me a Chevy, and it better be Keurig, and if it's not that fancy track, then I ain't getting it for the wife, and the next thing you know, you're eating McDonald's and dying from disease. Every freaking thing in the world that you touch is a death experience to you, and you have no rights to any of it, and never did. But here you are talking to choir form. I'm the musician on the Titanic. What a beautiful thing that is. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. So we don't have to do that. Our soul is. We watch that weather and it follows our body. You have a person like me that has out-of-body experiences and tells you, hey, this is what's happening, and then everybody just beats the shit out of you, and then you wake up tomorrow and you, well, holy fuck, this is what the shit's happening now, and that's where we're at, right? We're at these freak electric storms. We're at these freak rainstorms and hurricanes. We're at these freak earthquakes that I said is going to happen, and that whole pole flips to the other side, and that's, if you look at where it's at, it's flipped to the other side. It's drawn off that charge. The fields in South Atlantic are performing in that way, where they're stopping their current and moving in the opposite direction of what traditional current path is of the water. Ice developing in a different location of Antarctic. Of course, the majority of the Antarctic is melting, but in one spot it's developing new ice, so that's sticking through season. So this is change happened. Um, There's nothing more real than having that out of body experience and going back to talk about it and then to see it happen. To get a value system of is this guy real? Is he onto what he's talking about? It's not David Blaine. I'm not out there doing magic. Watch me make this storm. This is my life. This is me dying, and oh my God, guys, this is what happens. This is what I saw. I'm freaked the frick out. How about you? Will you talk to me? Can you be my soul? And unfortunately, nobody's taken that step, right? Everybody's too scared of it, I guess, or because I'm a dirty little whore, which I had to be. I had to break through all those barriers to get to the core because I had to be planted, even if that means nothing to me. It's the earth has to have that in order to generate new life. It's the root. That's the root. And we have the fantasies about it, and we have the movies of the guy goes to the witch and has to break through the whole haunted house experience, get through all these traps and everything, and get the treasure and get out. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, all these different, right? So I did that, yeah. Call me a beast. Call me a beast. This is horse talk. So we don't have a real Republican right now. We have one running on politics and using numbers, and it has the corporate treaty, and they're using it very, very hard. But we also have opportunities in China that we can develop. We have, and here again, Trump is a dick. He's not going to give us money the corporation took, but he'll hold the corporation to limit their price, and he'll tax tariff, so he makes the corporation lose money in that end and not taxes, but give it to the Fed. And it also gives you the opportunity to transition your life and to start buying from China. Pay that 30% tariff, but not the high wage from the corporate big box, because they're talking 1,000% margin on these items, guys. At a 30% tax versus 1,000% tax, which one are you taking? Come on here. Where are we at? What's going on? We're talking about 1/20th the value principle here. Who wants to work 20 times harder to get an end result? Why would you? What's so nice about the owner of Home Depot having a yacht? Don't you want a hot tub? Whatever your thing is, it's for us. But there's that opportunity. There is the pressure of Palestine giving its voice. And that's huge in the global state. And will determine our values based upon whether or not Trump gets to pull World War III card off and get action to war. Because at war, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. If we go to war, it's because Trump cannot win. Europe, you could say, is there, but their backbone's Germany, and that's China. UK's got some ammunition, they do, but they don't have an industrial capacity like Germany does. They don't have the qualities. So UK will bark, but when it comes down to it, it's whimpering with its tail between the legs. So there's the war. We have Israel. We're God's chosen ones. We're the ones. And to say that we're the ones, when you look at the psychology of what's going on, is we're coming to a global mechanism. That's the ones. That's the ones. That's where everything comes to the singular charge. The people in these different countries are coming in these singular charges, and the politics in their administrations are crazy as well. So it's a global one, if you want the truth. You want to play hotchkotch like the Democrats? It don't matter. I'm going to do it anyways. We're going to do it with numbers, by money, because we got money. We got money. Well, very few people have money. Most people don't. So eventually, money is not going to make their heart beat. It's not going to keep their marriage alive, and they're just going to get tired of the chase. You can't live on that. Not forever. We've been doing it for long enough for the human body to realize, all right, time's up. This one don't work. So just because a natural innate will is saying, we ain't doing that. No, fuck you. So Republicans, they take us to war. The cards are against them. They got China. They got France. They got Putin's going to fall in line with China. It's not even a question there. Putin is the key on our backside where he'll be calm and cool. He'll play some of our politic points to show us that he's acknowledging us. And he'll even tempt us to go to war. But he's not going to back us in war. So the whole union of the earth is based on the principle of peace. It's not for war. That's Xi. Xi Jinping is adamant about having a singular race that's identifiable to the whole globe, that's accountable to the whole globe. But it's not so much, it's his persons and pride. It's not necessary that he takes over other countries, but it is necessary that his merchandise does. He wants to see that, and he wants to see the de-inflated dollar be the real dollar that just runs the world. So he wants pillars going, not democracy, and not even capitalism, or should I say corporation. But specific is pillars. If that value is strict to capitalism, like that's the sole reason capitalism exists, and the sole reason for a corporation to exist is to take money from the people and not return it, then yes, that would be in Z's eyes. Like, this has got to go. These traits don't work in the world. And they don't. They're not working for us. All we have is a few pillars. I mean, how many frickin' mansions and yachts, right? What is the point of you having 15 women and a bunch of miserable children, right? And we're sitting here with our dicks in our hands because the ratios of life just that way. It's not the ratios of life. It's a time of life. But the people are rebelling against that ratio, and that ratio is money. Sure, you had your space, but it's not yours to claim. It's yours to be in a fight about because it never was to something to claim naturally. It's just the exhaust, the fumes of the brain at peak. And this is where they got to. Now they want to just keep you rolling, and the body's like, no, this is not us. So we're all aware. We're all psychologically on page of how this experience has evolved. And we can walk this through. We will walk this through. This happens every time. It's happened for the last 5 cycles. Some bitch in their backyard did fucking survive, dude. That's how it goes down. So let's not be some. We got fucking 8 billion people here. There's a lot of worth of the earth to develop when we take reign of creating the earth experience. Pollution is something we got to tackle, man. We got to change that way of living. That's just it. We do not shit anywhere in the woods, and our shit has got to all be toxin free. We got to give that earth some time to heal now. So EV and solar and all these wasteless energy sources are crucial, needed, necessary to be done. China is the door. China has all the battery. They have the electromagnetic. They have the solar. They have all these things at a discount rate that puts us back on scale as a middle class with the constitutional rights in our hand and breaks the corporate treaty down by taking the power away from them that the dollar is leveraged to, and the dollar itself is the people's leverage. So when the dollar signals the corporation as the mechanism and tool, it has to get consent of the corporation by order. The dollar leverages the corporation. They make all their existence, all their happiness, all their fruits from this dollar note. It's a bill idea concept. It's not a tangible. They're not paying their divvy into the system of the general pool of humanity. So they don't get credit from us. It's not our being saying, "Oh yeah, we approve of that." Right? It's the dollar that we're chained to, but the dollar is consented to us. In God we trust, in our God. The Democrats can throw that out the door, and it just blows me out of my mind. And that's what will take us to war. They need to step out of that clause. Um, and I don't stand by the Republicans. This is horse talk. This is horse talk. So there's a wisdom in the elephant, but the elephant in the room is a political one. It's not generating a trunk that is coming from the origins of existence, of our truth, our principles of being, that is redundant 12,000 years after 12,000 years after 12,000 years. This doesn't change. And we get reminders in between. Christ pops in and said, hey, by the way, we were only 2,000 years away, guys, and this one's coming in next. So let's get ready, huh? It's legit, man. Here we are. Here we are. So take that in, and aside from China, there's this band that I just recently have seen. I guess I'm speaking for with their name because I only get what 1-2 people watch this is what it shows me. So I'm not representing any kind of pool marketing, anything professional. But Sons of Legion, and they're doing a lot of their storytelling and music live. So they're on Facebook, they're engaging with the audience, they're talking to the audience, and they're using the computer for their marketing campaign. And how they're doing it is not through ad, but through engagement with the audience. So they're generating audience demand, and that's all they're doing. And that's, I don't know them, and I don't know much about what they're planning on doing with their career, but what appears to me is yes, I like that, right? I do like that. This is live, active realization of our experience in life. This is everything that I am participating with psychologically and physically is active right now here going on. I see him live in his band, doing jams in the studio, having it live on here, no pay, no nothing, just hey, what's up? This is what's going on. Or pop in, hey, we're going to do this. This is what's going on. And so yeah, they're going to have concerts you pay for, but they have a continuity about them that is just here, and it's here for the public. They're not charging any user anything to be engaged. And in fact, this is a band that I don't know if I could speak freely on saying this, but they will engage with the audience on a personal level at a public frame. Um, and that's unheard of. But just having them live on stage and doing their act and their work and whatnot, just there they are and they're doing it. And here we are, in our house, whatever, is huge. It's huge. It's not documentary of Hollywood. There's nobody involved in money side. This is just like this is what we're doing. So I mean, imagine your boss. Imagine their life that way, where you just hit a button. You want to talk to them, and they have to engage you. Hey, this is what's going on, live video. This is here I am. This is where we're at. This is what it is. Active participant with you in the job. If I'm at work, you're at work, right? So let's engage at this on a boom boom level. And let's get to the stage next where, okay, you're going to do this from home and you're going to engage on the screen. So everything you do is this on-screen engagement. And anything that's participating in the world is engaged on screen because that's where all the transaction is coming and going from. Social networking are going to be like things like Sing Bands, Out to Eat. So, you have these businesses, whether they're run by AI or they're run by people, they're going to be the social experience for the physical existence. So keep that in mind. That's what's going on in the world. That's what these politicians are fighting over, and they're trying to reign and control. And as much as I hate the Republicans, they do have the guns. Just hold your fort. Don't buy their bullshit. Epstein is guilty. Trump is guilty. Clinton is guilty. Obama's a dirtbag. Sorry, guys. Sorry. The guy, we're going to talk about whether or not he had a birth certificate. Okay? And when we look at the original, when it came out, there was no argument from the Democratic side to say that this was a lie and defraud it. They never touched that subject. So that makes no sense. But then immediately he seals his birth certificate. So it's legitly to me that you'll never change my mind. This is not a constitutional president. He should have gotten probation or something. He should have been held to court and then not held responsible because, here again, Trump introduced that law where you can't hold a president responsible. So, it gives Biden an out. But unless he's going to take it to war with the citizens, which he's and gets brave enough to make the battle or make the war stage real with the world, they're not going to be able to do this without the people's engagement. And they want this reality that I just described. They want this FaceTime real existence. They want it. They want it with fear. They want to scare you. So somehow they're going to have some kind of title system. Most likely would be the Kid Rock experience. You got to pay for every song I write. That's just another gaseous effect of Hollywood where, we're the gods, you're the servants, you pay us for attention. Versus, no, we're the artist, and this is the earth, and she's breathing, and has a sound that's being created, and here it is for the world to see. And that music that is written to that tone is the stage that brings our work to life. And we're here, you're working to be live with the world, participating with the world. And robots are going to be taking care of all these manual things. So you're going to be active in a screen format, live with the world, doing your agendas. But that's that. Hold that thought. We got another topic coming on with what we're going to call horse talk. I'm just sticking with it. And this next one, I do want to address people. I haven't thought about it a lot. It could be just one line that I have in my mind right now, but I just want to give it some time to think about, saying hey and how I say hey. I want to say my life's been Truman, and a lot of statements in my being have been made, a lot of actions made with the woman, and I don't even think I have to mention that she has been very rude, very mean. So I want to address her. I want to give that time to be whatever it is. But ultimately, I'm in this picture. I have that. I'm gifted that gift. And we're all here to live. So at the end of the day, that's what it is. And I will say today, right now, in this moment, that that's important for me to say because I really want to see things like Sons of Legion become the reality. I want to see the experience real. The earth needs it and wants it. This is peace, not war. And we got to build upon it and bring it in and make it happen. The Chinese goods thing, my expression and frame of life, like what I can do with the little bit of money I have, I'm making nothing. I'm on disability. And because I know I have the contractor skills and I can, whether it takes me a week to do it, what would be a few-hour job or not, that's irrelevant. But the cost that's defining what it is that I make is at 1/10 the scale of what it is in the traditional trade and industry. So my $50,000 investment would be $500K in the real world. And that's the frame, top and the bottom. It might be more around 300K or whatever, but the extreme form of existence, right? So, but that's what it is. That's what it is, and that's where we're going. And we're having to redesign and reappreciate what it means to be class. We've had separation in that past, and it is only the strong, and it's only the brutal people that can really grab that and roll with it. And those are the people that are going to take the world into the next stage, because that's what the Earth's doing. Got to be innovative to survive the weather. That's what Earth's doing, people. That's her story. So There's ways to do this. China's a great facet. Solar is a phenomenal way. Batteries is just absolutely amazing. There's nothing cheaper in the world. There's nothing cleaner. There's nothing less toxic. Nothing more resilient. Nothing less available to be sabotaged by bomb or government than there is having your own private energy. Solar and wind is just, it's the money spot every time. So these things all come together. They all have point and place to be. And this is the new world. This is what the new world is. We're going to have World War III if we don't see that truth. I am playing for tomorrow, not for death. Not playing for end time at all. And we have China backing that. That's China's agenda, and that's their goal. Do not get consumed with old ideals that are breaking down. It's not you're losing your constitution. China, Xi is very, very big about saying, hey, this is the people. The people are saying, yeah, we are one. So that's what China is. The rules that they engage are not us. We have our constitution. Every plant needs a flower head. We're the flower head. That America's always going to be that as long as we keep our head out of our ass and go forward. We have to go forward. China needs a flower. They're the stem, the leaf, the base, the root. They're working all those numbers together. Europe and America maintaining the head. Can we keep our head afloat? Are we the flower? Can we handle what today is offering? Trump isn't doing it. The Democrats are not doing it. So keep that with it. My stuff is always long. I'm trying to get to some shorter lengths, but this is for the counselors. This is for the seers. And I think an hour of your day or something real and tangible, you're gonna want to see that. And yeah, like I said, I'll try to address on a deeper level with the ladies and the men, and I want to take that to the next time that I'm here. Until then, let's be real. Let's keep it real. Bring the soul back to life. That's the key. That's the key. It's the soul. And let's grow. We're a tribe. We're an army. We are peaceful people. Bob Marley is he's our chief in command. This is who we are. This is we the people. So break with it. Love it. Love me, I hope. That would be okay. I'm not here to remove people from my life, but say amen to that. I learned to live without people, so that's what it means. That's what it means, right? But no more bullshit. This isn't bullshit. This is horse talk. You want to talk in the ass, get the fuck out the door. You got two ways to go. You can run, or you can shit, or you can piss. If you're a Republican, you're probably pissing your pants. If you're a Democrat, I gotta imagine you are shitting. Anyways, head out of the ass. Horse talk, people. No bullshit.